Welcome back, everyone. In today's video, we're talking about how to be a good interviewer. But, Peter, before we get to that, why is being a good interviewer even important?
Being a good interviewer is really important for five different reasons. So, number one, you want to be able to accurately assess the candidate's skills. Obviously, people can have all sorts of things written down on their resume, but this is your chance to see how strong they are in these technical abilities that are really going to be important for them to actually get the job done. Number two, they are this is in your area to judge their character. You want to be able to see who they are as a person, how they're going to fit with your company culture, all of that stuff. So that's a really important area of being a good interviewer. Number three is gauging their interest in the actual job, because people can say all sorts of things through written communication. Once you actually get a face to face or video to video, in a lot of cases, you can really see their level of interest in the position and working with your company and working with your team. So that's an important area to focus on and why it's important to be a good interviewer. Providing a positive candidate experience is something that's really a crucial area in being a good interviewer, because this is going to be your first experience with a candidate in a lot of cases. So you want to make sure that they feel good about your team, that they have a good feeling about joining your company. And finally, make sure that you are able to boost hiring efficiency, because this is a step in the interview process that can really drag out if it's done poorly. So making sure that you're sticking to your allotted time frame, that if it's multiple interviews, that you're getting them done in a timely fashion. All of these things kind of fit together as reasons why you really want to develop your skills as an interviewer. So Pete, we've talked about why you should be a good interviewer, but what are the qualities of a good interviewer?
There are numerous characteristics that make up a strong interviewer, so I'm just going to list them out. They're diligent, they're warm, they're precise, they have great active listening skills, they're always punctual, they maintain objectivity even when it's hard to do. They have strong organizational skills, and they have a natural ability to identify potential. Let's turn to how to be a good interviewer. Peter, where should we start?
Preparing in advance. When you walk into that interview, it should not be the first time that you are looking at their resume or their qualifications. Make sure that you take the time to do your due diligence so that you can set the tone for a well organized interview.
Great interviewers put their candidates at ease. They don't jump right into the hard questions. Instead, they greet them warmly, ask how their day is going, do something to break the ice up front, and then share a little bit about the position you're interviewing them for. If you do those things, you'll help the candidate get into a much better mindset, and they'll be able to answer fully and thoughtfully.
Make sure you're sticking to a structure in an interview. This is not something that needs to be super elaborate, but even having a couple bullet points about the areas that you want to cover is a really surefire way to make sure that you stick to your timeline and that you cover all the things you want to talk about. This can be as simple as questions about the background, technical skills, culture fit issues, and even leaving time at the end for follow up questions from the candidate. Doing these things is a really great way to make sure that your interview starts off and finishes great.
And Peter, to complement that, I'll add, don't be too committed to the structure that you have going in. An interview can be fluid. So if you need to adjust and pivot as the conversation flows, do that. It'll be much more natural and a better experience for the candidate. Great interviewers plan in advance. They have their questions prepared going in, and each question serves a specific purpose. Never wing it when you go into an interview. Think about the position you're interviewing for, the specific candidate who's there, and then customize your questions accordingly. Also, ask a mix of behavioral and situational questions in addition to questions that are designed specifically for the role. It'll help you get a much better feel for whether the candidate is a cultural fit in addition to being a strong technical one.
It may sound simple, but make sure you're actually listening in the interview. If you're doing most of the talking, that's going to be a problem. This is the candidate's chance to talk about themselves, talk about their experiences, and why they're actually interested in the job. So this is a time when you should be doing most of the listening, actually giving the candidate your undivided attention and asking insightful follow-up questions to what they're saying.
Make sure you clarify the key details associated with the position, things like hours, dress code, what's expected of the person if you hire them. The more details, the better. You don't want to leave questions unanswered.
And make sure that you're leaving time at the end of the interview to let the candidate ask questions if they've got any areas that they're unsure about.
And finally, use a standardized scoring system. This is where objectivity comes into play. You don't want it to be an emotional decision when it comes to who you're going to hire or move forward to the next round of an interview. So the best way to do that is to have a scoring system in advance and make sure that everyone who participates in the interview is willing to follow it along the way.
So there you have it. That's 8 steps that you can focus on to make sure that you are a good interviewer. Preparing in advance, putting the candidate at ease, sticking to a structure, asking tailored questions to your specific situation, listening to the candidate, clarifying any key details, and allowing the candidate to ask follow-up questions, as well as using a standardized scoring system.
We've covered the bases. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.